Hello, thank you for watching our Conestoga Career Center's Employer Industry Spotlight. I'm Hung, an Employer Liaison Career Coach with the Stratford Conestoga Career Center, and today I'm excited to feature not one, but two local employers in the cannabis industry. As a career coach, I've seen some of my clients successfully transition to the cannabis industry and know that there is many, many more interested in making that leap themselves. So today we have Phil from GreenSeal and Paul from Little Leaf who will be sharing their expertise. First, I'll begin with Phil for an intro.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for having me today. My name is Phil Niles. I'm the Executive Vice President of GreenSeal Cannabis, who's a cultivator based out of Stratford. Um, we, as part of us being a small business, obviously, I'm part of the executive team, I'm part of the management team here, and I get to do a whole bunch of different stuff on the day-to-day basis. Part of what makes this industry so fun.
Thanks for that intro, Phil. Right, love to hear from you, Paul.
Hi, I'm Paul Thompson. I'm the co-founder and general manager of Little Leaf Cannabis Company. We've been in operation since December 2020, and I'm certainly very glad to be here as well to introduce you to the wonderful world of recreational cannabis.
Thanks, Paul. All right, we'll start off our Q&A round with Phil first, and then we'll go to Paul. All right, Phil, so can you tell us a little bit more about GreenSeal? What does the company do?
Sure, we're a licensed cultivator or a licensed producer of high quality cannabis. Um, that covers a few different things, but our main product is what ends up in your retail stores downstream at places like Little Leaf. Our focus is on high quality flower and pre-rolls. That's kind of the GreenSeal bread and butter. We were founded in 2014, which makes us old timers by the cannabis industry standards. And at this point, we're in 5 different provinces for retail sales, including here in Ontario. Our main claim to fame, beyond just a really high quality product, is our vertical grow system. We grow vertically in various shapes and sizes, but we are under 6 levels under a 20-foot ceiling, which to the best of our knowledge makes us the highest yielding cannabis producer per square foot in the world.
Wow, congrats on expanding to 5 provinces, and the vertical
Thank you.
growing sounds very cool.
It absolutely is. It's part of the fun of this industry is you get to do a lot of R&D. It's a brand new space, and so you get to try and test a whole bunch of different stuff to find the best way to do it.
And when people are entering, whether your industry or company, what are some of the must things that they should know?
Certainly about the industry, I would say that this is a very dynamic, very fast-paced industry. In a lot of ways, it can be very challenging. That can mean good things and bad things at times. I'm sure Paul would agree with me on that front. But it's definitely a great space if you enjoy those sort of challenges, if you enjoy that sort of environment, then it's an amazing place. And if you're the kind of person who thrives in those environments, you can do really well. That being said, it's not necessarily for everyone. There's a lot of volatility. There's a lot of ups and downs, to say the least. And so I would definitely encourage everyone to look long and hard at themselves and make sure that's a space they want to be. Beyond that as well, I would also caution people that I think there are still some misnomers about what it means to work, certainly for a company like GreenSeal, which is focused on growing cannabis. I think people think it's just like a lot of Bob Marley and stuff like that all day. Quite the opposite. It's a heavily regulated industry. There are enormously high standards to which we must run the company in order to be in compliance with the rules and regulations, both provincially and federally. We do a lot of cleaning here. There's a lot of documentation here. So there's certainly a lot of fun with plants. There's certainly a lot of really enjoyable kind of traditional cannabis stuff that you would think of. Certainly harvest days around here are about as much fun as you can have in this space. But I would also say that it is a business. It is an industry like every other one. And with that comes a whole bunch of responsibilities, which I think people overlook a little bit when they're thinking about it.
Yeah, I could definitely see that there is a lot of details and following legislation that you need to have for something like cannabis. And you mentioned that you're looking for people who are very agile because it's a fast-growing field. What are some other characteristics that you look for in candidates, or what else makes them successful?
So definitely that adaptiveness, that flexibility that you're talking about is huge. I mean, Canada has the good and the bad first mover position in cannabis. It's good in the sense that we get a chance to get ahead first. It's bad in the sense that there's no blueprints to work off of, and even individual roles, even entry-level positions are always evolving. They're always looking for new ideas. And so I would definitely say someone who brings that lateral thinking to the role, regardless of seniority in that role, I would definitely be seen as something plus that we look for from our side. One of the other nice things, I think, especially for new graduates, for people just entering a new industry like this, is by definition, it's a brand new industry. Nobody really comes with direct industry experience per se. It's one of the wonderful things about this space is that people have come from all different backgrounds and kind of crashed into each other in the cannabis industry. And it brings a lot of new and interesting energy to the table. So I would definitely say we would hire a lot more for aptitude, or excuse me, a lot more for attitude than we would for aptitude. I'd rather work with people who are passionate about cannabis, passionate about learning new things, who want to work hard. I can teach cannabis skills a lot easier than I can teach attitude. So I would definitely say bringing that positive outlook and bringing that to the table is a huge benefit, a huge plus that we look for.
Oh, those are really insightful. Thanks, Phil. And what about any legal requirements or training that they would benefit from having or would need to have when beginning the job?
So certainly I just touched on the fact that necessarily some of the experience that you might think for cannabis, obviously, if you've grown yourself at home or maybe you've worked for another licensed producer, obviously that's beneficial, but certainly not a hard and fast prerequisite. We do run a criminal record check, but since it's the cannabis industry, there are certainly possession background checks that pop up every now and then. It's not necessarily a hard stop from our side. I think we're perspective, but certainly criminal record checks are required. And that can actually get even more stringent if you ever go for what's called security clearance under Health Canada, which is an even higher bar to entry. So there's certainly things like that. But otherwise, I wouldn't say, we're looking for any particular education background or experience background. Like I say, I'd much rather have really passionate, happy people to work with.
Yeah, I'm sure that attitude makes a big difference in the culture.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
from people who've been able to join your company, what are some ways that they've been able to grow, or what are some areas that are available for them to move up in?
Yeah, I'll certainly speak to GreenSeal because not every company, of course, is the same. But one of the nice things I think we've got here in the culture at GreenSeal is myself and the rest of the executive team. We're very big believers in promotion from within. So we've got multiple people who, even just in the space of a couple of years, have had multiple promotions up the ladder in terms of seniority, or, and this is just as interesting in my opinion, have made lateral moves into other areas of the business. And being a small business that's growing, there's constantly new roles and new responsibilities that are happening and being created within the business all the time. So if you are the kind of person who has that ambition and has that drive, there's plenty of places for you to go. I always say that it's a very flat org chart here at GreenSeal, and you are really limited only by your own ambition, your own enterprise. And if you're willing to put in the work and educate yourself, then I'll make you CEO if you're the right person for the job at the end of the day.
Oh, sky's the limit then. That's great.
Absolutely.
And what are some roles that your company is currently hiring for right here in Stratford? And who should people reach out to for more information?
Yeah. So we're almost always hiring for kind of three core roles. One is production. We call it the production team, and that really is your plant team. So soup to nuts, tending to plants, whether it's propagation or flower or harvest or post-production, things like that. So we're almost always hiring for that role. Packaging is another one. We're growing really, really quickly because GreenSeal's had a lot of success recently in the retail space. We are hiring like mad for packaging roles, which would be packaging our dried flower into their final retail packaging or into pre-rolls. So that's definitely one that's been the hottest topic lately. I actually think we're hiring for 6 roles right now in that space. The other one that we hire for all the time, or at least we're always on the lookout for, is what we call our EPSU team, EPSU, which stands for Equipment Preparation and Setup. That's a team that works very closely alongside our production team and has responsibility for a lot of the setup and takedown around actions associated with cannabis cultivation. So those are kind of three roles that we're always looking for. They're also tend to be our most junior roles. So we're constantly looking for people with the profiles that I was just outlining in terms of positive attitudes and a willingness to work hard and a passion for what they're doing.
Yeah, I'll definitely have some people to send GreenSeal's way. And who would be the best person for them to reach out to?
So they can go through our website, greensealcannabis.com. We have a careers page on that site, certainly submit through there. We also put all of our postings up through Indeed as well. So any open positions that are open there, they can feel free to apply for, and it'll go straight to our HR team.
Perfect. Thanks, Bill. We'll definitely have that link posted for our segment today.
Great, thank you.
All right. Really appreciate your insight. Any last words that you want to share, or anything else that you want people to know about GreenSeal?
Even just beyond GreenSeal, I would say this industry as a whole, it's growing like mad. I always compare it to saying, like, if you were in social media in 2005 or you were in crypto in 2017. I mean, it's just, it can go any direction at any given time, and that's super exciting. I love being a part of it, and GreenSeal is very much growing along with it. So it's a really, really fun industry. Anyone considering a career path towards cannabis can absolutely say, it can be a very rewarding place to be. Very engaging work, and a lot of really great people have found their way into this industry as well, which I think makes United better.
No, that's awesome. Thanks so much, Phil.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, we have Paul from Little Leaf. All right. Oh, Paul, we'd love to hear a little bit more about Little Leaf and the retail side of cannabis.
For sure. So first of all, Phil, well done. I got goosebumps when you said about how fast and how much fun this industry is. It is an amazing thing to be a part of. Just watching the change, watching people grow. It is an absolute fun, tremendous time that we're having here. As far as who we are, recreational retail cannabis, we have different set of guidelines, different set of requirements that's required if you're going to come and work for us, I think we will delve into that a little bit. Generally speaking, retail, just like all retail, there's two types of retail. You'll have independent operators and you'll have corporate operators. Corporate is typically they run multi-store networks, and whereas independent retailers, a little bit, we're very community focused as a retailer. And like to deliver that to our community to make sure that cannabis is being safely distributed. We operate a transparent business, as well as just being able to spread the word and educate people about this product because of the amount of stigmas and things that still survive out there.
Yeah. I like how you split it into the two sides, Paul. And what are some things that people should know about the company or industry? You mentioned a little bit some of the stigmas.
So a lot of the stigmas are based on what that cannabis has been illegal for so long that, generally speaking, the last 3 years for it to come out of the shadows and finally be legalized, we do see a lot of stigmas. It's often personal beliefs on what they believe the product does or does not do. Some of the stigmas surround it's whether it's a dangerous product, whether it's a wellness product. There's a lot of different terms that's thrown around for cannabis. And we would encourage that from a consumer standpoint is to get yourself educated before making any decisions. As far as employment goes, we do our best in our store to educate and find opportunities to educate every customer that walks in the door, because it's really the customer that kind of spreads the word. Being a new regulated industry, there's a lot of preconceived notions about cannabis and where it comes from, how it's grown, and all those different types of things. So thank you, Phil, for alluding to that. Because the growing side of our business, the growing side of the cannabis industry is really the heart of where it begins. And we are simply the means of delivery of those different licensed producers' products.
Thanks, Paul. And from when you're talking about employment and the people that you're hiring at Little Leaf, what are some of the characteristics that make someone stand out or be successful?
Well, again, Phil kind of said about aptitude and attitude. It's for us, we can teach anything you need to know about cannabis. We can teach you how to have that customer conversation. We've trademarked our own program to do so. We trademarked weed and the smart approach to cannabis sales. And the reason we did that was, well, for a couple of reasons. One, we trademarked the word weed, which is pretty awesome. Second is, more importantly, being able to deliver that customer experience. There is a lot of products to know. There's a lot of products, not only a lot of products to know, but there's also a lot of accessories to understand in how to consume, how to store it, and how to prepare your product. In our store, for example, we have over 400 cannabis products that's available to a consumer in 7 main categories, which is dried flower pre-rolls, you have vapes and concentrates, you have edibles, beverages, and topicals. And each one in itself is an ever expanding and changing environment. So what we're telling customers today, next year or next month, that strain may or may not be available. So we always have to stay on top of our education. So I'd say, that ability to learn, ability to take that information in and translate it to a consumer, that is incredibly valuable for being able to give that customer experience. In addition to that, there are regulatory requirements that have to be achieved for us to hire an individual. One is your CanSell. So similar to the Smart Serve that alcohol has, cannabis has the Smart Cell certification, the CanSell certification. And CanSell is CANNSELL.ca. That's their website if you ever wanted to check it out. It is only the basic licensing requirement that's available that we require. They do have more intricate courses if someone was interested in getting those. But for us, the standard is that. And Phil also alluded to the background checks. It is a requirement. And depending on what comes back on that background check will determine the next course of action. But some, I guess you say, previous convictions with cannabis can sometimes be more of a hindrance in your life. And there are some things that we are willing to look over as long as we've done our due diligence to make sure that the infraction was minor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's helpful to have that transparency and understanding how information or laws can change.
That's right.
Yeah. And for people within your company, how have they grown, or what are some different areas for them to grow into for their roles?
Perfect. So we really have 2 different types of roles in our store. We have your consultants, which the more industry recognized term is bud tender. We have a little thing about being a bud tender. We don't believe that term is right. We call them consultants because really you're here to advise and consult about cannabis. So we really chose that terminology because we think it better reflects the role. In addition to the role, we have a supervisor role. We have assistant managers. We will, providing the direction Little Leaf takes, we may have store manager roles pop up in the future. However, what we're finding in this space is that as fast as the retail side of business is moving, the licensed producer side is moving equally, if not sometimes faster. So often what happens is people from our store often get recruited by the different LPs for various roles there. Because a licensed producer, although they are focused on growing, they do have a sales and marketing team on the other end of the business. So a number of employees that we've hired have moved on to licensed producers to become territory managers for the licensed producer, in order to build relationships, in order to talk and educate the staff about their products and those different types of roles. So some stores may be corporate, maybe non-corporate. You might find accounting roles, you may find inventory control roles, you might find security guard roles. Some stores have designated greeters. They also have designated salespeople or designated cashiers. Anyone that works in the retail space must have that CanSell and background check. I can't stress that enough, but not necessarily due at the time of application. We are, when we sit down and interview, we would go through the next steps and make sure that you had that before your actual first day of work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, it's great to hear that they're starting in retail, but they're already being recruited into the more licensing or other areas of the industry. And you had mentioned, Paul, that there might be some future openings in the stores in Stratford for different positions.
Definitely. We have 6 stores in town now, which we can say what it is about how many stores are in town. It might be a little overboard right now, but with 6 stores, that means 6 stores are hiring. A number of stores in town are corporate stores, so that gives you the ability to transfer between store to store. If you relocate or you're looking for promotion, they do have head offices and things like that where you can work your way up the ladder that way. Independents, obviously, we don't move that fast. We often, again, get our people groomed for going outside of our store into licensed producer, again, sales roles. But within our store, we are always looking for great people. People that bring us cannabis experience or prior cannabis experience, that's fantastic. But more important, the most important quality to us is you being able to have that personality to stand on stage and really give that full presentation to a consumer based on more things than just high THC or indica leaning or sativa leaning. You really have to delve into the quality of those products, and that's what we do. We're big on education, so we'll make sure that every candidate is armed, and an employee will not step foot on our floor and talk to a customer until I'm confident that the knowledge you're going to deliver is true and factual and focused on the consumer's needs.
Sounds like really comprehensive educational training.
Indeed.
And where should people look at for more information about roles, or who should they reach out to?
Right now, you can really go through your the companies that offer listings and really read into the different types of job descriptions that different retailers are looking for. When it comes to me, for the sake of the Conestoga College, we're all local here trying to support our community. And so I am going to give you my personal email address, that if any candidate out there would like to reach out and ask me more questions, or would like to have a conversation with me about the cannabis industry and getting employed and getting a little bit more detail, you can find me at paul.thompson@littleleafcannabisco.com, and I'll gladly answer or field any questions that you may have.
Super, that's really helpful and generous, Paul. All right, is there any more information or things that you want to share about Little Leaf?
I think, again, I'm just going to echo what was said earlier. This is such a fast-moving industry. Today we're talking about this. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about something different, and I don't even know what it is yet. But we have a lot of external partners that are also evolving in this space, and often logistics is our biggest headache, because we have a certain supplier we have to buy from, who's constantly evolving. That is the Ontario Cannabis Store. We have licensed producers that are coming, going, changing. They have new brands dropping. They have new lines. They have new companies that are coming to the marketplace. There's just so much happening on a day-to-day basis that is what really drives me every day. And yesterday's work that I was doing is in the past. I have to continue to move forward and push forward to stay on top of all the exciting and wonderful things that are happening in this space. But recreational cannabis, we know, is not for everyone, but at the same time, for those looking to really start a career in a brand new industry in 2020 is amazing. 2021 now, but just an amazing industry to be in. It rarely in our opportunity in our lives will we ever have a new industry that we can really build from the ground up. Looking forward to the future for sure.
Perfect. Thanks, Paul. Really appreciate both Phil and your time, seeing how it starts upstream with the research and development, and then the production, and then how it gets into retail stores like Little Leaf. I know that there's going to be people who are really excited to learn more and hopefully reach out and look at the ways that they can get employed in cannabis in Stratford here. Perfect. All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.